Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to this community meeting. We're going to be talking about Achievement Charter Academy. I will start by introducing the board members who are here today and myself. My name is Liaja Horn. I am the board chair of Achievement Charter Academy, and I will be the future school leader when the school is up and running. We have with us today Barbara Marchioni. She is the board treasurer. She is part of this community and raised her family here. We have Cindy Pierce. She's the board secretary. Both of these ladies have been with us since 2017 as well. Cindy works in Harnett County. We have Gina Newell, who is an educator. She's been in North Carolina for 13 years. And I've had the pleasure of working with her as a teacher in our school. I have Bobby Jo Taylor, who is also an educator. She's a board member, and we're happy to have her here today. There are 3 board members who are not here with us today, and that is Nancy Herrick. She lives in Winston-Salem. She is on the board of directors for the William Glasser Institute, which we'll get to a little bit later. It has a lot to do with the model that we'll be using for the school. And she was not able to make it here today. Raymond Strain is also a board member. He's our tech guy. He has been in this community for a very long time, raised his family here. And Jason Smith, who is a board member, and he works in Fuquay at the First Bank. And he is our financial expert on the board. So a little bit about who we are. We started this process in 2012. Some of us who are on the board currently were on the board at that time. And it was the vision of Brenda Harnack, who is a community member and business owner in the area. And she wanted to provide for the community a school of choice for parents. And we applied that year and did not get approval for the charter school. And we did not stop trying. We kept trying. And this year we did get approved. So we'll be opening in fall of 2020. The mission of ACA's mission is to foster individual achievement by teaching students to be self-directed learners and community contributors in a respectful, diverse, and inclusive learning environment. So some people don't know this. So we're going to go through the different ways that charter schools are similar to traditional public school and how they are different. What is a charter school? A charter school is authorized by the State Board of Education. Charter schools are tuition-free public schools of choice that are operated by independent nonprofit boards of directors. Because of this level of autonomy, charter schools have more flexibility in their curricula and operations. However, they are still required to meet state testing standards because they are publicly funded. So who oversees our operations? The board makes all of the decisions about what happens in the school. And then NCDPI, which is North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, oversees what we are doing, and we are accountable to them both financially as well as with our academic results on the testing. So who can enroll in a charter school? Anyone who is eligible to go to school in North Carolina can enroll in a charter school. You do not have to live in the county in which the charter school is located. If you can go to any school, you can go to a charter school, and of course there is no tuition. There are if a school has more applications than capacity, then it would go to a lottery. And at the lottery process, there are a few exemptions, and that's staff children, board member children, siblings of current students. And we also are amending our application to include a weighted lottery, which would give a certain percentage of seats to economically disadvantaged students in the community. So our open enrollment is going to be January 2nd to February 5th. It's important to get applications in during that time because nothing is accepted after February 15th. However, anytime during January 2nd to February 15th, it does not matter when you register. You're not first in line or last in line. If there ends up being a lottery, everybody's on the same playing field for getting chosen for enrollment. So a little bit about the curriculum and learning model. Our school is going to be using the Glasser Quality School Model, and this model creates an environment of choice for students, which incorporates their interests, and it also is uniquely designed to meet individual student needs. And by incorporating interests, that is how they are motivated to find the relevance and meaning in the learning and to really enjoy that process. So curriculum, we will welcome, come in, please join us. We will be following the North Carolina Standard Course of Study, and we are having a collaborative environment, not just with our students, but also with our teachers. So the teachers will be having input on what that curriculum is going to look like. And we think it's important, and the model also warrants this, that the people who are driving the instruction be a part of that process and guide us to make those choices that are best for meeting the student needs. Okay, classroom organization. We will have multiple age classrooms, which means different grade levels in the same room. And that can be done in different ways in a quality school. The way that we envision it is kindergarten and first grade being together, second and third grade being together, and fourth and fifth grade being together. Although some quality schools do K1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. That is something that at first we believe will be better in the K1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 for our incoming class. So that is the basics. So now I'd like to open up for any questions that you guys might have about the school. Okay.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
What if we are not, like we live down a little bit further down in the county, and what if we don't have dependable transportation to get our children to school?
Well, we will have a transportation program. We'll be purchasing one bus, and that bus will go to several locations in the community to be determined, depending on where our applicants are coming from and what makes the most sense. And also the first people who would be served with that transportation service would be economically disadvantaged students. So after we fill the bus with those students in need, the rest of the spaces would go to people who are requesting transportation. So the first year we should have space for around 70 students to ride the bus. Good question, thank you. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure.
If it's a nonprofit, who's funding?
Well, we're funded by, publicly funded. So we get some funding from the state, we get some funding that's local, and that's dependent on which students come from which counties and how many from each county. That's how that is calculated. And then some federal funding, which comes for exceptional children. So depending on what percentage of exceptional children are enrolled in your school, you get a certain percentage of federal funds for that. We also are applying for the NC Access Grant, which provides access to economically disadvantaged students, and that is a federal grant. Also, there's a technology grant we're looking at, which is the E-rate grant, and that's also federal funding. You're welcome.
I'm sorry, I may have missed this.
Sure.
Can you explain to me a little bit about your application process? And you're having a lottery. How does that work? What if I have multiple children? Will they all get in?
Good question. Multiple children, what will happen is if you have, let's say, 4 children, you would enter a family name. So the family name would be chosen from the lottery. And then so long as there's spaces in all those grades for all those students, the whole family would be selected at that time. So there is preference for multiple births is #1 preference. So if you have twins or triplets, then that's a definite. And then any siblings. There's also preference for students who have previously attended a charter school in North Carolina. That is also allowed by the law. Board member children, teacher children, and I think that's covering all of them. And we discussed having the weighted lottery, which we're amending for that. You're welcome. Good questions.
How do you make a application?
We will have, which we don't have yet, but we will have online as well as paper. So they can be mailed in or they can be done online. And the initial application is very brief. You only want just the basics for that lottery process. And then once you're selected and you get through the lottery, then you go through the whole paperwork of enrollment application. So it's very brief. The information you give is very basic for the lottery process. We will have a free and reduced lunch program, but it's not the national program. So what we'll be doing is purchasing lunches for those students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And we'll be using My Hot Lunch Box, which will deliver the food to us. Parents will go online and select what they want to order on that day from whatever restaurant is catering. And there will be a selection for students who receive free and reduced lunch of the items they can select. And it'll be the same foods, but they can add on. So if the parents want to add on, they can. Mm-hmm.
Type of testing process.
We have to do the same testing process. Hello, welcome, come in, as all public schools. So we have to do the EOGs at the end of the year, and that is how we're held accountable for the academic piece. When we choose our curriculum, we will be making sure that that aligns with what the the North Carolina state standards are, because those are the standards that are tested. So whenever the teachers choose that, we'll make sure that we're covering all of those so that we can do well on those tests.
Can I go back to a food question?
Sure.
Do parents have the option of sending lunch instead of
Yes, you can definitely send a lunch. And we will be a peanut-free facility. Peanut-free.
buying?
Mhm.
What about the parents that do not have the kids to go online?
We will have something set up at the school, and I haven't decided exactly what that's going to be, but we'll have to have some communication about what they want to order, and then somebody would either do that for them, maybe have an iPad and be able to do that at a drop-off or pickup, or if they're at a different location, there might be a paper form that we can use for that, for them to select what they want. The meals are, the week is already picked, so like you can go on a calendar and do a whole week at one time. So the parent would just have to be in communication. We'd have somebody designated to make sure that was taken care of for the week. Maybe even for more than 1 week, so it doesn't have to be done as often, yeah.
The length of a school day.
The school days, Monday through Thursday, is going to be 6.5 hours, and that's of instructional time, so that does not include lunch. So it'll be 7 hours from start to finish. There also will be a little bit of time at the beginning for dropping off. We'll have to stagger our drop-offs, and that has not been firmed up exactly how that's going to work. But we're in the process of that right now, wanting to make sure that the traffic flow is good and everybody isn't waiting in line for too long. So Fridays is going to be early release. Every Friday will be early release at 12:30. It'll be whatever time they start. If they, depending on what class they're in, if they start at 8, they'd get out at 12. If they come in at 8:15, 12:15, etc. And we are working with different before and after care programs to see if that's going to have an effect on their care on that day. And if it does, we'll have to figure out a plan for those students to be on the property, even though they're not in class at that time for a certain amount of time, some kind of program. We will have several very close before and after programs that we're going to work with. We've reached out to the Lillington Community Center. We're reaching out to the Boys and Girls Club as well. And the community, not the community center. New Breed is another one that we've reached out to see if they would be able to be pickup and drop off locations so we could have access to before and after care. The first year, I know of one that's going to be very close by. That would be a possibility for folks that we would provide transportation to. And that's something we can get into more as time goes on and see what people's needs are. But we are thinking about those things now and how to address them.
So the hours, so if you are as early on Friday, how are you going to calculate the hours?
You don't have to make up the hours. I've calculated that you need 1,025 hours of instructional time each year or 185 days, and we will have both. We are 185 calendar days, and we're over 1,025, and that also accounts for the time that we call choice time, which is like an elective time. That is not considered instructional time, and that's twice a week for 45 minutes each, and that hour and a half is also calculated in that. So we should be okay, both with the number of days as well as the hours, and you only have to have one of those. And that still is a little cushion for weather. Not much, but a little. There's always the possibility of makeup days for weather. And what's going to be happening on those days on Friday when the students are released is the teachers are going to have teacher team meetings and really be able to figure out how to best utilize the curriculum and grow and serve their students in the best way. And that'll give them plenty of time during the week to do that. Did you have a question? Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Do you know the breakdown of how many classes you will have per grade level you're proposing?
Yes. When you do a charter application, you have to designate how many students you expect to have each year for 5 years and in what grades you expect those to be. So in the first year, there will be 2 groups of kindergartners, each 20 students, and then 1 group of first, second, third, fourth, fifth graders, each 25. The total will be 162. I know that's a little bit off. I think there's 11 in one, but it's 162 total. And because we're doing the multiple age classrooms, that would be a little bit fluid and flexible. So if for some reason we need to adjust that a little bit, that should not be a problem. And according to the law, we need to stay within the 162. But if our numbers change between grades, that's okay. Yes, each classroom will share 2 teachers assistants, and then the other classrooms will share the other 2. We also have a full-time PE teacher, and that will help with scheduling. For example, a way to really get smaller groups in the classroom, if an ability group needs to be brought in to remediate or to extend some sort of learning, the PE teacher could take, let's say, from the 3rd and 4th grade classrooms. The 2nd and 3rd grade classrooms are together, and there's 2 of them. He could take only the 2nd graders from both of those classes to PE and leave just the 3rd graders in the classroom. And if the teacher needed to do something that was very specific to their needs, that would be a time that she could do that with half of the group. So there's a lot of different ways to utilize the people that we have to make it the most effective. Did you find your question? Was it teacher's assistants?
Yes. Okay, I have a question, and maybe I'm off my rock with it. It was having to do with lunch. It was more of a possibility. The teachers, a lot of teachers in a lot of schools write folders. So would it be possible to send a lunch home in their writing folders for the next week, and that for those that don't have
Access to the computer. Sure, we definitely could do that.
And the other thought was there would be a common kiosk where they could do like that.
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking.
I was thinking that, but then my thought went to what if they are not someone who is able to get to the school and they're being picked up. So that's why I thought paper in those cases would be probably the most effective, or a phone call if you need.
So who's going to do, if we're going to teach you to keep what's the thinking that they'll get their lunch orders in then?
There would be someone designated that would go in and key that in.
Okay. That's what
And we would just have to determine who those people are at the beginning and
What you got?
manage it. Yep.
It's going to be the level of homework.
Not very much. The philosophy and the theory believe that the learning needs to occur at school, and anything that happens at home should be an extension of that to enrich what they've learned. So it might be something like, sit down at dinner with your parents tonight and talk about the time when you visited a pumpkin patch. What did you see? Talk about the different plants that were growing there. If it was science, for example. So the teachers are going to have to get really creative with what kind of assignments they send home to make sure that it's that extension of the learning. And then I have people who ask, well, what if the parents aren't going to do any of those things with them? Well, that's okay too. We can't, make parents be involved with what students are doing. We can encourage it, but can't force it. So in those cases, the teachers are going to know their students really well, and they're going to know that that's happening, and they're going to figure out a different thing to assign that's more appropriate for that student, that can help them develop those skills that they're trying to develop with the homework. Some things like spelling words that need to be practiced, there's creative ways to do that as well. So it's just, there could be some, but it shouldn't be an overwhelming amount. No one should be overwhelmed with homework. And if there's, yes, if there's things that need, most kindergarten homework is reading, like parents reading to the kids or the kids reading or pretending to read, just looking at books, really, literacy piece. We'll also have some opportunities at the school for parents to come and learn kind of those literacy strategies with even just reading to their kids at home, or how to do spelling homework, or any of those types of things. And we can have events where we can feed people dinner and people can come and kind of learn how to do those things.
So, that child is right.
Well, that's why we're going to have some, and that's something that I did think about. So in those upper grades, I think the priority should be to teach them how to manage time, and that they can do these things even though it's not an overwhelming load, but kind of get them used to that process and having to do things when they get home. But one of the benefits of this model is that they're going to have interesting things to do. So once they get in the habit of doing something at home that they enjoy, it shouldn't be a big struggle for them when they go into a different situation, when they have those demands on them as well. And the organization skills for sixth graders, it's tough, regardless of what you've done previously. And it's a hard age to get organized. So we'll help them as much as we can. And that's just one of those transitions that all kids go through from 5th to 6th grade as well.
About disciplinary action.
We have to have a disciplinary policy, and that's going to include things that are bottom lines, things that are bringing weapons to school,
Just general behavior.
aggression. General behavior, when you use this model, is usually able to come to a resolution in the classroom before you even get to the step of administrative disciplinary action. So in this model, it teaches parents and teachers and students how to communicate with one another in a way that is both meeting the individual's needs without impeding the other person's ability to meet their needs. And when you teach students how to do that, they are more respectful of each other, they're more respectful of their teachers, and that is the basic premise of the model. And one of the things that has been found is there's less disciplinary issues because of that in these schools that use this model. There may be incidents, but they don't become issues, and those problems are resolved. Teach the children how to do conflict resolution, and teachers are willing to negotiate, and you figure out a way to help them better meet their needs in a different, more appropriate way. Now, if disciplinary action has to be made, we will have a policy on that, and that's being developed now. We have to have that by December, kind of in the books. And once we get our student handbook, that will be online, so everybody's clear on what exactly that process is.
You have a guidance counselor?
Yes, we will have a full-time guidance counselor, and we'll also have a psychologist that is available if we need for testing for exceptional students.
I can't apologize. Was it asked right now, currently, the trend is that they take a lot of time out of the day to teach about the EOG and like they take a lot of time out of the day to teach them to the test, per se.
Mhm.
I know in this model, there is that expectation, rightfully so, that they will do better. But is it going to be as pervasive? Is the whole fact that they're taking, is it going to be as pervasive in the environment as it is now?
No. One of the main points of the philosophy is that if you are teaching students things that they're actively engaged in, that they are going to store those things more efficiently in long-term memory and attach them to things that they like, that they already know about. And by doing so, you make that information, this is just information processing theory, you make that information more available for retrieval. So, just doing things that students are interested in is not just because, it's not only for enjoyment, it's also because when they are enjoying it, they're going to remember it better. Now, students who you find are not meeting benchmarks or, testings along the way, those kids are going to be having remediation the whole time. So you don't have to teach to a test if you're constantly building that student up and those skills. And like I said about the PE teacher, pulling students from 2 classrooms. Imagine now you have 10 students left in both of those classrooms, and you have a teacher's assistant as well. So you can have remediation groups every day if you want, and get those kids where they need to be before the testing situation happens. But you don't want to put a lot of pressure and stress about the test. You want to make sure the skills are there so that they do well on the test. And it is part of the model that they do well on tests. So that is important, but that will come because of all the other supports that the model provides.
That's a question. I know that's a lot of parents. I hear a lot of tests,
Mhm.
especially the ones in foster care. It's always they're saturated with emojis. So, and I know we handle things a lot of them, but that's something that's
Mhm.
unfortunate.
Well, that's been really good. Anything else? Covered a lot.
I just figured